Donalte, Shimo Panolti, aloha relatives, sending you all good energy. My name is Sam Torres. I'm the Deputy Chief Executive Officer for the National Native American Boarding School Healing Coalition. I am Mexica, Nawa, born and raised in California. My relatives are from Zacatecas, Mexico, in the little pueblito of Guadalupe. I also have relatives in El Paso, Juarez, Texas, El Paso, Texas, Juarez, Mexico, and Southern California. It's an honor to be able to offer some space today to share a little bit about the circle of gathering that we would like to share with you all, the relatives of Hawaii, and to discuss a little bit more about this oral history work that we are so eager to share with you. Um, so we have some folks on our team, on our staff that are going to be going over some specific details with you all. And we are always available for outreach. You can reach us at our website at boardingschoolhealing.org. We have an oral history page with information that we find will be really helpful where you can reach out to us and ask any questions that you might have. But before we do that, I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Jerry Ebelarosa Tanel, who is a good relative and friend of NAB's, who is going to open us up in a good way and offer a little bit of context on this incredible opportunity to open the circle and to have some really important discussions and conversations around the context of boarding school and the power of telling one's story, and so that we can learn, we can listen, and we can move towards that possibility of healing and expanding truth and moving towards being fully human ourselves. And so I'd like to invite Dr. Jerry Ebelarosa Tanel to introduce themselves in their own way and to share that context with us. Tlaso Kamati, thank you, Dr. Jerry.
Aloha, mahalo, Sam. Aloha, everyone. I'm Jerry Balarosa Tanel, and I've been working as the oral historian with NABS for a while. And so I'm excited to be bringing this project home, back home to Hawaii. So thank you for um, Windward Community College on Oahu that's going to be hosting us, and as well as is the University of Hawaii Hilo? Is that correct? Oh, Hilo. I know we're going to be in Hilo. I forgot to ask where we're going to be in Hilo.
Grand Naniloa.
Grand Naniloa. That's right. That's right. Sorry about that. E Kalamai, E Kalamai. So we'll be at the Grand Naniloa Hotel over in Hilo, and then also at Windward Community College in on Oahu. And so one of the things that I wanted to share with you all is that I know that it can get very, very complex when it comes to telling stories or having our kupuna tell stories or their mo'olelo of the time in what we're calling boarding school. I know that in Hawaii, we called it reformatory school, we called it seminary school. However it is, whatever it is called, the importance of this project is to be able to bring light, to be able to bring truth to exactly what happened in these schools. The experiences may be different than what happened here on the continent, but I feel that the assimilation, the depossession of land and of our kingdom, the being able to talk about how our language was suppressed. And so these are some of the things that we're going to be traveling to Hawaii and hopefully getting our kupuna to share their mo'olelo. And if Lisa, you want to add anything, or Lacey, please do so.
What we want to share is that we want to give opportunity for kupuna in Hawaii to share their voice in their truth telling, even if the experiences are different. Like Dr. Jerry mentioned, they were still under the same policy, and they were still under the same intention from the United States government, although the experiences may be different, we still want to hear. They are still, the experiences and the stories still matter, and we're there to listen and we're there to document, no matter if stories are good, bad, indifferent. We want to hear from Native Hawaiians of what they went through because it matters. So we're coming to 2 different locations in Hawaii. We're there for an extended amount of time, and we do want to hear, and it's not to place blame or point the finger at anybody. It is to just share truth and for us to listen because it matters.
Thank you, Lacey. I think I also wanted to say that our mission is to honor and bring light to the complex histories of Indigenous people who face the systematic assimilation and the loss of language and culture. And then again, although our Native Hawaiian experiences differ in some ways from what happened with our Native American relatives on the continent, we need to also recognize that the impacts of challenges of cultural disbandment, it's deeply shared. It's deeply shared. And so I just wanted to add that into it as well, too.
Much appreciation, Dr. Jerry and Lacey, for sharing your voice and helping to contextualize this deeply profound moment of truth-telling, of truth-seeking. And I think one thing to add to setting the context here is it's important to recognize that as Indigenous people and communities throughout the world, but specifically under the perspective of the United States of America, that there are so many different communities and individuals within those communities that are in different parts of the path of knowing, of seeking, of situating that context of what does the context of boarding school look like to me, my family, to my experience, to my relatives, to my nation, and recognizing that everyone's in a different place, I think is really profound and important. Part of this opportunity to build a space where folks can come and tell their truth, and have that story and that history preserved and told from their perspective, from their experience, their lived experience. We have done a lot of learning ourselves. We have conducted 7 site visits throughout the United States, including Alaska, Oklahoma, Montana, Minnesota, North Dakota, and Michigan. And we have been learning so much from our relatives throughout these lands about where they are. Some are just starting to talk about it for the first time. Others have been talking about it for decades. And we have been privileged to be able to hear and experience and hold ceremony and hold space and gatherings where we can be in a shared space, a space of kinship, a space of being able to hold each other and ourselves in a sacred way, to honor, to remember, and to learn from each other. And I think, to help also build a bit of context, the Healing Coalition, we were created shortly after the Canadian Truth and Reconciliation Commission was initiated. Now that was initiated back in 2008. In 2011, tribal leaders and grassroots organizers came together to say, well, there were some very similar experiences that happened in the United States. There were institutions that were dedicated to assimilating Native children, utilizing educational methods, using industrial and vocational contexts to to essentially reprogram Native students. Now, a lot of the questions that were being asked at that time were, how come the United States, Alaska, Hawaii, how come these questions are not being asked and answered by the government of the United States? Well, our organization was formed seeking answers to those very questions and seeking to develop an advocacy network that could push for those answers and to bring those that experienced those methods of assimilation firsthand and these institutions firsthand to hear directly from them. This opportunity, this project, this circle of and gathering of relatives is a response to some of the movement from tribal leaders, grassroots leaders, and those that experienced these institutions firsthand. So it's by that context that informs our movement, our preparation, and a reminder that though these institutions, boarding schools in the United States, residential schools in Canada, there were boarding schools in Mexico as well that I know that my relatives were impacted by, and in Hawaii, which were also doing a lot of learning from the industrial to the reformatory to even the prison and juvenile justice systems, held these similarities where we know that Native youth were the target, that there was a educational component, and those youth had lodging there on the premises. Those are the criteria that the Boarding School Healing Coalition has set out to try to understand more deeply. And so, as a part of this program, where we are hearing directly from relatives, we are seeking to do that in the best way that we know how. And that's guided by our Indigenous sensibilities and way of thinking, of being, of praying, of living. And so we are following a community centered model where we are working with folks in the regions that we are visiting, that we've been invited to help us hold space in a culturally informed, a culturally responsive way with culture bearers and leaders of the region that can help us open in a good way. So we're going to have an opening gathering where we can have a meal together, where we can feast together, where we can be moved and informed by the culture bearers and the traditions of the region, share a little bit more about the context of this work, and really just hold space before we do any type of storytelling and recording. Throughout the time that we'll be together, there will be interviews available and an opportunity to document one's story so that these stories can be preserved and held in a digital repository long after each of us are here to learn from, so that these experiences can be documented and understood. So after following a process of informed consent and going over all of the specifics of how these materials will be utilized, we will have all participants will have an opportunity to have their photograph professionally taken by a Native photographer, have an opportunity to, of course, share their experience and story in a room with Native videographers. And after the interview is conducted, we will have a space that we refer to as the quiet room, where we have our relatives who will help dialogue and decompress if necessary, have the opportunity to be in the proximity of traditional medicines, and really just to have an opportunity to kind of be able to decompress before coming back into the warm welcome space that the majority of us will be welcoming and waiting with others. So we'll be here doing this work, and then we'll seek to close out a week of interviews with a closing gathering where we will have culture bearers support a gathering and hold a meal together as well. So this process and this program contributes to what will be the first national permanent oral history collection, the likes of which has never really been developed before. This is a first of its kind process where those that attended these institutions will, be able to share their story, and those stories will be documented for generations to help us understand, to help further generations learn what truly did happen. And so, inspired by that mission of learning from those that experienced it themselves, we are deeply committed to holding space in the best way that we know how. Our oral historians that will be asking questions will be helping to guide the interviews and asking questions. We'll also be doing some follow-up after the experience to check in, as good relatives do, to see how, the process following the interview, a week after, a month after, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months after. And ultimately, the intent is to nurture and cultivate a relationship. So that is what we are interested in. We're interested in walking alongside our relatives together to help hold that space, to learn, but also to care for and to continue that relationship. So we're honored by the opportunity, honored to heed the call and the invite, to extend this to our relatives on the islands, and to really just to engage this work in the most in a humble way, where we know that we don't hold all the answers, but we want to invite folks to share their truth and share their stories.
Thank you, Sam. That was a great explanation of what it looks like within our project. I just did want to add that, as well as federal ran schools in the continent, there were also church ran schools in the continent and in Hawaii as well. And that NABS has a list that includes those that were not included in the Department of Interior's list of the federally supported schools. So NABS has compiled a list of schools in Hawaii, and whether they're called boarding schools or seminary or reformatory schools, there's a list of 29, and we are interviewing people that haven't attended any of those 29 schools. And if there's a school that someone attended that's not on our list, we are open to hearing that as well, because we know that the research is still ongoing and that there's still information and knowledge being uncovered to this day. Even as NABS within the continent over here, we still find schools. So there's still not even a final list. So we will include the link on this video to find that list of the 29 institutions. And if there are any that you have not seen on there, we would love to hear from those as well. Dr. Jerry, do you want to add anything?
No, just that, the only thing that keeps coming up for me over and over again is how coming into this work and NABS coming to Hawaii, on how we are working towards having it being so pono, right? Is that we understand the complexity of it all, but entering into it in a way where there is harmony and humility, I think it's just really important. And yeah, I'm nervous and excited to be there in Hawaii. And so
just to share more details of dates and times, we will first be visiting Hilo, and we will be starting our opening ceremony, our opening gathering, on November 17th, and the gathering is 9 to 11 a.m. at the Grand Naniloa in the Sandalwood Room. And the closing gathering is Tuesday, November 19th from 2 to 4. And in between those times is when we will be doing the interviews. We do ask that people schedule and sign up for interviews, that it's not a walk-in basis. So we do require appointment for them and to answer any questions too before coming to interview. And then we like to send the questions too, just to make you feel more comfortable about what we're going to ask. And then for Kaneohe, we're going to have our opening gathering on November 22nd from 9 to 11. And the closing is November 24th from 2 to 4. So same schedule set up for both locations. And if people are interested, we can have them sign up, call a phone number or email, or we have a website that people can join and include their information. And we do not want travel to be a barrier. So if there's anyone that attended these institutions that need help with a flight from a different island or a hotel room, please let us know. Please still contact us and we can help assist with that. And we do, for each person that does get interviewed on site, we do offer a $100 cash honorarium and then a travel stipend as well. And like I said, for those that need a hotel room that are traveling from a distance, we do offer support in that. And we don't want any barriers to come in the way of those people that want to share their experience. I will share the links in the chat. And then if there are any other questions, we would love to hear any questions or concerns. We're here to answer them. No questions. Our main emphasis is that we want to share that we are not trauma seeking or seeking certain type of stories for these interviews. Everybody's experience is different and every experience matters and we want to hear them. So even if you are interested but not sure if you want to interview, for sure, please contact us and let's have a conversation. If you're unsure if your school falls under this project or this policy era, we would love to have a conversation. Any type of questions or concerns, please just give us a call. Jerry, do you want to close us out?
Yes, absolutely. I just wanted to say mahalo everyone for being here. And again, we look forward to being on in Hilo and also on Oahu. So again, if you have any questions, any concerns, please feel free to contact us and the information will be in the chat. Mahalo, everyone.